Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar.com, and today I want to share a concept with you that I call the lower drop. This is one of these things that so many bass players forget about when they're learning to play the bass. I'm going to demonstrate this concept, and I'm also going to use a classic tune called Stuck in the Middle of You by syllabus to demonstrate this idea. I will catch you on the other side in just a few seconds. Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar.com, and today we're going to be looking at a concept called the lower drop. Get this one down and it will really start opening up the fingerboard. We're going to use the Steelers Wheels tune called Stuck in the Middle with You as a vehicle to actually demonstrate this concept in action. The ideas we're covering today are a direct extension of the 40,000 foot view lesson where we covered or looked at Black Magic Woman by Santana. So make sure you check that one out too, because it will make a lot of the concepts that we're talking about in this lesson make sense. But before we dive into the specifics, let's have a listen to what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to look at the bass line first of all, and then we're going to talk about how the actual sequence works. So it's a little bit in reverse from how we looked at Black Magic Woman before. So let's talk about the lower drop. The lower drop is this concept here that I'm going to play to you. As opposed to this. And where these ideas come from is so many students think in a vertical fashion. So what they do is they have the root note, and then they assume their bass lines have to go up from that point forward. So, and what happens if you think in that way, it excludes all the notes which are actually below the root. And if we take something like the scale of D major, for instance, I played a D7 there, but all of those notes actually appear below the root too. So let me demonstrate those. So C, and then we go to the E, like that, and then the F sharp is there, the G is there, the A is there. So what we can do is we can actually construct a whole D major scale, and all the notes we need to create bass lines actually sort of from the viewpoint of coming from below, which is very powerful. So we get this idea of the lower drop. Let me first of all play you a D major scale dropping down so you can hear this idea in action. As opposed to, you could obviously actually continue up if you wanted to. Has a real unique sound to it, and also gives us this great palette of other sounds that we can use. And what tends to happen is players forget about this because their fingerboard knowledge needs a little bit of work. And where this idea is particularly prevalent is actually when you're playing on the A string, so like a C, a D, and an E, for instance. It's very easy to forget the notes which actually appear below that. So I'm going to cover a couple of classic bass lines which use this lower drop concept. Now, the bass line, the reason I've chosen this, or Stuck in the Middle with You, is because the core bass line of that is a lower drop concept. So I'm going to play this to you now. I'm going to teach you this line. Don't forget, there is a free PDF which comes with this lesson. So you can actually see all of this written down in black and white. But let's take the bass line apart so you can hear it. Like this. So let's pull the bass line apart. So it's two Ds. And then right at the end of the second beat, we actually hit the open E. And then we hit the F sharp, which is the lower third, and that's what I think of as the lower drop. And down on the F sharp on the 2nd fret, and then we go, so we go up to an A and then a B at the 2nd fret on the A string. Just to take that part once more, 2 Ds, open E to the F sharp, hitting that on beat 3, and then A to B, back to A. Now, when we play the Steelers Wheels tune Stuck in the Middle with the U, there's actually quite a lot more going on, but I like to think of this as my core riff, so my 40,000 foot view. So I take that as the one sort of cell that I know of that track, and then I extrapolate from that point forward. So we then can put this over a G chord, and then we can go back to the D chord, and then the chord changes very, very slightly there. So once you've got that riff down, let's have a look at the sequence. And so I'm going to take the sequence apart for you now. It's another 12-bar sequence, but again, it doesn't cover the 12-bar blues. The chords move slightly differently. So we're going to start off with 4 bars of D, like so. And then we go up to the G, and then we go back to the D, and then we hit chord 5. Actually, it's quite similar to a 12-bar blues, but this is where it changes very slightly. A, and now this definitely isn't from the 12-bar blues. We have a C, G, like that. And that is our sequence that we play over. It's worth saying at this point, this is the verse sequence. There is a bridge passage which goes on in that, which we're not going to cover in this lesson. If you'd like me to cover it, please do comment below and we'll take that apart in another lesson. But this is the crucial thing, that I want you to have the 40,000 foot view here, superimposing this riff in there rather than looking at the individual notes if you're looking on a tab site or whatever. Take the chords, understand the chord sequence. I'm going to play this for you now. I'm also going to talk about the last 4 bars in just a second and show you some other usages of the lower drop too. Sequence restarts. Now, of course, you can put Roman numerals to that too. I would suggest doing that is a very good thing to do, but the reality of the situation, it's not a song that tends to get transposed too much on gigs. I think I probably, every time I've played it, I've always played it in the key of D. So it's totally cool just understanding, taking those chords as they are. But what I want to do is I actually want to show you a bass line that I use across this section here. So bars 9 and 10. It's worth also mentioning at this time a slight sort of caveat as such. I'm not teaching you exactly the lines which were on the original record. They're kind of based on the original record. This is something that pretty much all bass players do, is they will learn something and then interpret it in their own way. I very much do that. Hence why I really kind of just have one bass line locked in my head, then I will put variants on that. It may be worth transcribing the whole thing if you really want to understand what the bass player does, but I want to show you some of the lines that I would play on this. These are my kind of lines, the sort of things that feel good to me, that I've sort of built up in my arsenal of bass lines over the years. So you can get a feel for me as a bass player and me as a musician too. So I just want to make sure that you understand why I'm not teaching you note for note what's on the original, because this is all about that 40,000 foot view again, of allowing you to learn songs really, really super fast and understand how the foundation of them works. So let me talk about what I would do in this A bar. Is what I would do is more of an old-fashioned kind of rock and roll thing. That's the line I would probably choose to play, something like that. Not always, but it's a good line to do. Don't forget, this is all notated in the PDF which comes with this lesson. But let me take this apart. It's 2 A's, and then up to a C, the 3rd, up to the 5th, and then hitting the 7th on beat 3, flat and 7, 6, 5, 3. Which is an old sort of rock and roll line. And then what I would do is the old classic Hey Joe bass line. I love this from Jimi Hendrix, which is another example of a lower drop. So rather than going like that, I'll go, and then that perfectly hits the G, and then I'll go to the major 3rd of the G, and then chromatically up to the D. This line just beautifully, fluidly kind of works, it weaves in and out. And then I'll go straight back into the riff, because there's a little bit of a shift in energy when we hit these 2 bars here. It's kind of, I guess, the climax of that section. So it's worth breaking away from the riff and making the line a little bit busier, in my opinion. This is, as I've said before, everything I teach is just what works for me and how I perceive music. There's no rights and wrongs in this, and this is what makes every kind of bass player unique, I guess. So let me play that whole line in concert. Maybe just worth learning the whole of the Hey Joe bass line, because it's a great bass line. Okay, so that's where it comes from. That's the influence on my part. Is I'm an old rocker who used to play that on guitar, that bass line. It's a brilliant, brilliant bass line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the whole sequence for you round a few times, and so you can hear what this sounds like. I'll play it a couple of times, fairly strictly what I've taught to you in this lesson. Then I'm going to break out, and so you can see some of the other things that I would potentially play on this sequence. Don't forget, this is the verse only. We can cover the bridge in another lesson if you like, so please do click below, let me know that one if you'd like me to do that. Anyway, let's play this with the track now. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. Please Don't forget to check out the 40,000 foot view lesson where we took apart the Santana tune Black Magic Woman. That will really help you learn Stuck in the Middle with You. So if you've enjoyed this lesson, please do give it a like and share. Don't forget to download the free PDF that comes with this lesson. Also, if you'd like to learn a specific tune, if there's anything that you would like us to cover on the eBassGuitar channel, please do leave a comment below. I will catch you next time. I've been James from eBassGuitar.com. Catch you later.